Tropical Storm Melissa will become a powerful, life-threatening hurricane in the coming days, and I am very concerned about what this storm system can do to our family down here in the Caribbean as we make our way over the next several days or so. And we're here to give you all the latest information that we have. We'll get very detailed on it. All the overnight into this morning's model, guys. We'll go over the latest as far as impact. We'll have a section of the video where we'll kind of geek out with you guys a little bit, explain why this system is going to be moving so slow, why it already is, and why this has such a high-end potential as far as strength. I've mentioned in last night's video, I think this has the potential to become one of the strongest hurricanes on record in the Atlantic. And I know those are crazy words to say, but I'm going to talk about why I think that is a possibility in this video. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get going this morning. So this is current conditions with Tropical Storm Melissa. Continues just to be a sloppy looking tropical storm. I mean, the convection, all the blowups and colors you see on your screen is certainly misaligned from the actual low-level circulation. It just looks like your typical mid-grade sloppy tropical storm as it literally just spins away in almost one area here in the Caribbean. I think it's moving like 3 miles per hour, so it's barely moving. So I mean, if you tuned into last night's video, you're thinking, man, this thing is in the same exact location. Well, it pretty much is. So no changes as far as strength and really location since last night's video, if you did tune into that. Jamaica here, Cuba, Hispaniola, Haiti, the Dominican Republic. So this is current conditions with the system. Latest from the National Hurricane Center, it's a 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm moving west-northwest at a whopping 3 miles per hour. And this is the classic look from the National Hurricane Center as far as the cone. But I'm going to go on and skip past this and show you another way to look at this. It's the same cone from the National Hurricane Center. It's just kind of overlaid on a different site here. It's called Zoom Earth. Phenomenal. It's like combining Google Maps with the tropics. Awesome stuff here. So I do want to mention we continue to have hurricane watches up for areas of Haiti, and we continue to have tropical storm watches up for Jamaica. I think some of this will change. We'll get some upgrades, especially with Jamaica here in the coming days. Nothing up for the Cayman Islands or Cuba as of right now. So like I said, 50-mile-per-hour tropical storm currently. There's going to just be a gradual pace of strengthening between now and tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon should be a 65-mile-per-hour storm, and we'll just go on and make this a little bit closer. And I just want you guys to note, this cone is where the center of the storm could go. It's not the impact cone. So just think, if you live in the Cayman Islands, you're thinking, well, we're not going to get, any impacts from this, or Haiti, or, a good chunk of Cuba up here. That is not the case. First off, this only goes through Tuesday, 2 a.m. Second, this is not the impact cone. This is where the center of the storm could go. So just remember that as we continue to track Melissa over the coming days. Saying this should become a Category 1 80-mile-per-hour hurricane by around Saturday afternoon. Will likely become a Category 2 hurricane sometime Saturday night and a Sunday morning. And then by 2 a.m. Monday, a major Category 3 hurricane is forecast. And then the peak in forecast intensity as of right now is a 130-mile-per-hour Category 4 hurricane. And when we say major hurricane, that's a Category 3 or higher. I think the peak intensity forecast will go up. I'm actually surprised that it hasn't went up since last night's video, but they still have it at around a 130-mile-per-hour storm. But remember, this only goes out to early Tuesday morning. Okay, so I think that this could undergo more strengthening past this time frame. So this is the latest cone. I know it's weird, it's jumbled up, and that's just because it's going to be moving so slow over the coming days. Let's go over some model guides. I'm going to look at the Euro and the hurricane models. Euro, we're going to start off with Saturday morning. All model guidance, we're going to start off with that time frame, Saturday morning, okay? Saying it's going to be around 999 millibar low. Right now, it's about 1,002 millibar low. It actually weakened overnight, which isn't surprising. So as we move forward here, we're going to take our way into Saturday afternoon. There's a gradual pace of strengthening. Jamaica here, Cuba here, Bahamas, Turks, Caicos Islands, and Hispaniola here. So if you're confused, hopefully you know what your island looks like here in the Caribbean. And I'm not taking any shots at anybody, but I imagine most people do. But we get into Sunday morning. And from Saturday to Sunday, I think that's when we get a quick pace of strengthening. 975, if I had to guess, that's a Category 1 or 2 hurricane. All right, Jamaica here, already getting impacts from this, even though the center of the storm is well south. So it's following that National Hurricane Center cone right now. As far as the euro, and it actually dips southwest, so it gets tucked in deeper into the Caribbean. It actually looks like it's moving away from Jamaica. Okay, and I'm going to talk about why it could dip southwest into the Caribbean when we talk about steering currents. But as we get into Monday morning, you can see that number's dropping. That means we have a stronger hurricane, a stronger low pressure, 947. Okay, and then we get into Tuesday morning. All right, this is a 936. One would argue that's getting close to Cat 5 status, Category 4 or 5. And then it comes up, and as we are getting into sometime late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, it either makes its closest approach to Jamaica or makes a landfall into Jamaica. Now, some model guidance has this getting into the eastern sections of Jamaica and actually tucking in between Cuba, Jamaica, and Haiti. And we'll go over those models too. It's a 930. And then between Cuba and Jamaica, Wednesday morning of next week, the 29th, it's a 924 millibar low. I mean, that's almost a Category 5, if not a Category 4 system. Makes a landfall as that in eastern Cuba. And then we get into Thursday morning, and what is this going to do? And this isn't an exact forecast as far as the strength, as far as the timeline. Just remember that. We're still trying to figure this out. But it takes this right through the Turks, Caicos Islands, and southern areas of the Bahamas as a powerful hurricane. It's picking up speed, but it's a powerful hurricane. Then it gets kicked out into the North Atlantic, and we'll talk about other areas like the East Coast, Atlantic, Canada a little bit later into this video. I mean, this goes all the way out about 8 or 9 days. I mean, really, that's as far out as we need to keep it, right? So what about some of these hurricane models from overnight? Let's start off with the HF-A and HF-B model, and then we'll go with the H-WRF and the H-MOD. So same thing Saturday morning. The HF-A model has this strengthening into a 963 millibar hurricane by Saturday morning. I mean, that kind of goes against what the Euro is saying. Definitely has this strengthening a lot faster. I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll see. But 963, one would argue that's close to a major hurricane already. Jamaica's here, Haiti here. And as we move into Sunday, look at that rapid pace of strengthening. Almost drops 40 millibars. So it's a Cat 5 just south of Jamaica here. This thing looks like it's moving away. It's a 906. It's a sub 900 millibar low. And then we go all the way out to late Monday night into Tuesday morning. There's portions of the Cayman Islands right here, Jamaica right here. This thing is just a ridiculously strong storm off this model output. 895, it's a Cat 5, and it looks like it's starting to slow down here, and at the very end of this run, looks like it's about to start moving north. HF-B model, okay? It's even stronger by Saturday morning, at 950. I don't know if it's going to get that strong that fast. I do believe some of these outrageous strong scenarios once it gets into the Caribbean. I believe it's possible. We get into Saturday afternoon, it makes its closest first pass to Jamaica sometime this weekend. Maybe close enough to even get the outer eye wall. We'll have to see. Definitely getting thrashed with these outer bands, but it kind of tucks in closer to the southern coastline of Jamaica. We're getting into Sunday evening. We're getting into Monday morning. It's a 988. And then we're getting, basically on the HF-B model, it doesn't dip as far south into the Caribbean. And by the time we get to the end of this run, which remember the hurricane models only go out 126 hours, it looks like it's beginning to turn north as a Category 5 hurricane heading right towards the western end of Jamaica. The H-WRF model, it's different. And I'm not going to call it an outlier either, because we've had some ticks east in model guidance a little bit. I think this is more of a reasonable scenario, as it is a 982 hurricane, Cat 1, Cat 2 hurricane Saturday morning. But this one kind of whips it more northwest and has this actually making a landfall just about as we're getting somewhere in the middle portion of this weekend as a Category 2 or 3 hurricane into western Jamaica. I'm sorry, eastern Jamaica. I apologize. And goes right over Jamaica, just cruises over the entire island the rest of the weekend and literally stalls out and actually begins to gather itself again between the western tip of Jamaica and Cuba. As we're getting into Monday afternoon, it is crawling. And at the very end of this run, it's heading right towards Cuba. Even though it doesn't technically get as strong in this scenario, it is still a terrible scenario. HMON model. What does it show? Saturday morning still has it close to Haiti. And then it takes more of that route like the HWARF model is. In fact, it's actually turning east faster. Turning north, and it's taking more of an east route is what I'm trying to say. And it actually slips this hurricane right between Haiti, Cuba, and Jamaica. It actually misses Jamaica. This model run does not bring any significant impacts to Jamaica. Instead brings much more significant impacts to extreme western Haiti, and then is about to come up and hit eastern Cuba as a major hurricane. But the turn is a lot further to the east, and it turns north faster. What about the grand ensemble? We've been showing you this the last couple of days. I think it's a phenomenal thing that Tomer Berg made on his site. It's polarwx.com, and this basically combines all ensemble guidance, which, by the way, is the best thing to look at, but it makes it even better that it's combining all of it. So all these little lines that you see here, these are each member to all the ensemble runs except the UK Met. The black line is the middle ground, the mean, the average of all these members, and it has ticked a little bit further east compared to the one I showed you last night. If you remember last night, the black line was kind of going way out here. Now it's a little bit further east. Okay, and you're not seeing as much as this green and yellow shade tucked in deeper into the Caribbean that you did last night. So is this a little bit of a trend? I think it's very possible. And if you remember, the blue was a lot closer to the southern tip of Florida, where the aligned members were closer last night. Not as close this morning. So are we getting a little bit of a trend east? Very, very possible. But still a clear signal for this to get south of Jamaica. Now, if this continues to tick east on the next grand ensemble, then hey, we got to watch. And some people might be wondering, Mitch, why haven't you showed the GFS? I'm not. If the GFS ends up being right, GFS, and it just starts to turn north right now, then you can tip your cap to it. But for now, it's not being respected. And honestly, nobody's paying attention to it too much right now because it's whiffed on the storm so bad over the last 48 to 72 hours. But as far as impacts, this graphic has not changed since last night. National Hurricane Center is always slow to upgrade this graphic. I think they do it like once every, or maybe twice every 24 hours. But, you know, the southern areas of southern coastline, just inland of Dominican Republic and Haiti, could get 150 to 200 millimeters of rain. I mean, that's anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of rain. I know y'all go by millimeters down here. And you already have the eastern tip of Jamaica in this too. 150, 200 millimeters of rain. The yellow is 100 to 150. So, of course, out in the ocean, that's where the most rain could fall. 500 to 750 millimeters of rain. It's a lot of rain out in the ocean. But that's rainfall. We'll note this only goes out between now and, you know, about midway through the weekend. So this doesn't clear the entire. Remember, this isn't a forecast for the entirety of the storm. This is only going out about 3 to 5 days. On this is 5 days. This is chances to see tropical storm force wind gusts. Make sure this is 5 days. Always, yeah. Between now and the next 5 days. And you're pretty much at a 50 to anywhere from a 50 to a 70% chance to see 40 mile per hour wind gusts or higher in Jamaica and areas of western Haiti. It's starting to increase now for the southern coastline of eastern Cuba. So, you know, this is chances of everything starting to increase. This is the timeline. Things will certainly just go downhill as we get closer to the weekend. It's Thursday, so yeah. So this is the timeline if you want to pause it here. Now, I don't want to ignore my folks here in the East Coast. You know, there's a lot of I haven't read the comments from last night's video. I'm sure some are brutal, but I saw a lot of them that were very encouraging. But believe it or not, people might not believe me, there's people who just think it's not worth talking about this because it's not going to impact the U.S. That is just a very selfish way to think. And if that hurts your feelings, then, you know, log off and you don't have to watch my stuff no more. But that is very selfish. I mean, everybody knows I talk about the Caribbean also, and they're our family too, just like Atlantic Canada. We talk about you guys too. Now, I mean, I know I don't talk about the Pacific much, but we got to figure this one out for them also. But there is... model guidance has ticked further east, so lessening the chances of this impacting the eastern U.S. And this is the Euro as we're getting into the morning of October 31st. And there's what's left over of Melissa. Still a very strong storm system, but it's jetting out into the North Atlantic. Now, does it even get close to Atlantic Canada? No, it misses to the south. You can see it down here at the bottom of your screen. So that's a good trend, if you want to call it that. I do want to mention we still got to watch for a powerful storm system in the end of the month. There is a low pressure. This is not Melissa. This is just another low pressure that's very strong, I might add, that gets going off the coast of the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast and then into the North. I mean, that's a storm system on its own. Remember, I mentioned a few days ago, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back or shoulders or anything like that, but I mentioned there's going to be a very energetic pattern as we get to the end of the month and just a pattern change. And Model Guidance is locked in on that. I made a video just specifically about that a few days back. Now, one thing we're watching is on the latest Euro, okay, this is the energy. This is what happens. This is the trough digging down. Float, nope, don't like that color. Trough digging down. Nope, don't like that color either. Okay, this is coming down and it's not able to catch this. In fact, it kicks it out. Okay, but if you look at the run, a couple runs back, it's a little bit different. The trough orientation with this is kind of going more so like this. So therefore, it's kind of keeping this out, but there's a pathway of what it was showing 2 runs ago for this to kind of come up like this, and that's what it does. And then if you look at the Canadian model from yesterday, it fully captures this and then slings it like Sandy into the northeast coastline. So, but the Canadian's not showing that now, so that's good news. But I will note the Google DeepMind Ensemble Guidance still has a few members flirting with the idea of coming up into the northern northeast, New England, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. So we will continue to monitor any switches and trends with this as we move forward. Now let's talk about, just kind of book it back down to the Caribbean. Let's talk about steering currents. You might be wondering, well, why is this system moving so slow? And to kind of sum it up quickly at the beginning before we nerd out, this thing is jammed in between very weak steering currents. I mean, it's kind of in a void. And nothing's yanking this one way or the other. So it's kind of just being steered by some weak trade winds here in the Caribbean, which are present most of the time. So I'm going to draw on this. And so you see these wind barbs here? Like I'm going to try to circle one that's a little bit more clear. Like for example, you see this one over Mississippi and you see the flag portion of this, how it's pointing this way. That is where the flow's coming out of. So our flow is kind of going like this up here. Okay. With a trough in place, just a lot of wind shear, a lot of flow up here moving west to east. At the same time, there is a bit of a high pressure right here. And this is for Friday afternoon tomorrow. So flow's kind of going around this high pressure like that. And there's a weak high right here where flow's going like this. Okay. Now this system is sort of sandwiched in between all these features. Flow up here, flow number 1, flow number 2, flow number 3. And it's closest to this weak ridge right here, but it's actually moving away from it. So the fact that it's moving away from this right here, it allows for the steering currents to slow down even more. So this thing just sort of sits down here, marinates, if you will, over the open, warm waters of the Caribbean. And our little blob of color right here, yellow, orange, and red, that is Melissa. And it just kind of just meanders. And actually what happens here is you get a little bit of a stretching of the ridge here that kind of goes like this. And I really think Melissa feels that a bit and tries to get yanked downward, kind of southwest. But are we starting to get a trend that this ridge right here really isn't going to affect it much? If we do, let's back it up a little bit. There's a chance as this thing begins to gain strength, well, there's a chance that this thing can more so take a route that sort of kind of goes like this or like that instead of kind of going like this and maybe even dipping a little bit southwest. So is there a trend towards this ridge over here not impacting the steering there? I mean, there could be. I think regardless as this system gains strength, it gains latitude. So that's why it takes off right here. And I think there's a combination of a couple things. One, that a stronger system always wants to gain latitude. 2, there's an obvious long-range trough, or large-scale trough is what I meant, that picks this system up and slings it out this way. That's an easy escape route created. Another great way to show this is the blue is low pressure, which Melissa is a low pressure itself. The pink that you see up here and over here, that is ridging, and the ridging right here is so weak it doesn't even show up on the 500 millibar chart. And this big blue blob here, that is Melissa. It's just in a void of whiteness, which, to really sum this up, I mean, there's no significant steering influences on this system. So it's just kind of creating its own path out here. Now, as far as what could make this a powerful, even the potential for a record-breaking in strength Atlantic hurricane, the easy thing is sea surface temperatures, 30, 31 degrees Celsius. I mean, the sea surface temperatures down here are anywhere from 85 to 90 degrees, I would say. So it's just, I mean, the Caribbean is basically just a giant bathtub. So the system's going to be going right through these areas. But one thing I want to mention that I don't have a graphic pulled up for, maybe I'll try to get that in the next video, is that the surface of the ocean is warm, yeah. I mean, downright just uncomfortably warm. But under the surface of the ocean, it's warm too. So, you know, you might think, well, if this system sits in one spot, it kind of mixes the water up and then brings some cooler water to the surface and just cools down the waters. Well, the water underneath the surface of the ocean is warm too. There's a lot of depth to that warm water. That's a little bit different. That just creates another wild card that you can check off the box as far as ingredients for a powerful, powerful hurricane. The next thing I'll mention is, listen, the upper wind pattern. This is a little bit more complex to explain. So if we go back to this, the system is being hit. Let's use the system is being hit right now by wind shear. Okay, that's kind of coming out of this direction right here. All right, and you can see that, and this is for tomorrow afternoon. I don't think it's going to change much, but you can see that if you look really closely. See these lines right here with the arrowheads embedded into them? You see how it's kind of going like this and like this. Now, I do think the environment begins to improve somewhat tomorrow, but there's definitely some wind shear kind of hitting, I would say more so the northwest, if you had to give any kind of direction right there, the northwest and western areas of the system. And you can see it very well right here. You see these thunderstorms or this convection trying to form right around the Cayman Islands? Watch how it kind of gets shredded apart. See, it kind of pops up right here and then boom, gets shredded apart. That is wind shear coming out the west. That's the same thing that's hitting this portion of the storm right here. And that's why you see a big blowup of convection that's kind of waned overnight that kind of gets shredded apart. You know, down over here, the system isn't struggling as much. A lot more divergence and flow, and you can see how these clouds are kind of expanding outward. That's different on this side of the storm. It's definitely struggling more, and that's been the case. That's why you call the eastern and even portions of the central Caribbean the graveyard of the Caribbean, because there's always a lot of wind shear. Now let's go back to this. Watch how the environment begins to improve, and watch how at the same time this number, this millibar number, begins to dramatically drop on this hurricane model. Okay, we get to a 182. I'm sorry, not 182. That'd be terrible. It's like a storm in Jupiter. But a 965. And then we go into Sunday morning, it's a 929. What is causing such? And then a 902, right? Stop it here, it's 905, Monday morning. It's Category 5 hurricane. Not only a Cat 5, but just a stronger in Category 5. What is causing this? Well, this thing dips a little bit further in the Caribbean. One, it gets completely away from any dramatic upper wind flow, wind shear. So this system is basically just hanging out in very light flow aloft. So it kind of creates its own environment. And therefore, there's a lot of what we call divergence aloft. So a lot of air is being pushed out away from the storm system, almost anticyclonically. We call that a ULAC, upper level anticyclone. A lot of air, a little bit different right in here, but there is a lot of air expanding out away from the system. What happens when that, well, what that allows is for a huge environment of rising air. As that air rises up above the storm, that gets dispersed. That allows for more rising air, that gets dispersed. If you have a continuous environment of rising air, it allows for convection and the sustaining of convection. Convection is shower and storm activity. Shower and storm activity creates a moist environment. Tropical systems like moist air, therefore this can dramatically strengthen in a short amount of time. So this thing just, encounters an upper wind environment where there really is no upper wind environment. I mean, there's no flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere, and it creates its own outward flow. I hope that makes sense. But just an exhaust engine for this system. And you can see as we're getting into tomorrow afternoon, the system's already beginning to improve. You can see all the moist air indicated in the green right here on this side of the storm, center of the storm. I mean, there's a lot of flow being dispersed out already in these areas. But if you look right here, there's really a lot of dry air close up against the actual center of this storm. But watch how that changes. As this system, as the upper wind pattern betters, an environment for rising air increases, and therefore this thing cocoons itself with an extreme moist environment. And it doesn't matter how dry the air is outside the storm. This thing is fully cocooned with a ton of dry air, and allows it to just take off. So that's all I got, guys. I don't have an update with the weather for the lower 48. We're probably going to just take a break with that until we get past Melissa. But I do have you guys a Bible devotion, and let's create a timestamp right here for this. And listen, this kind of goes into, fear and stuff. And I know there's a lot of people that are worried down here in Jamaica and Cuba and the Caribbean, Haiti, and stuff like that. So we've actually done this Bible devotion, and this is one that I've worked with my little girls to memorize. And it's Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. It says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be afraid, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will hold on to you with my righteous right hand." So I said, he is always with you. He never says bad things will never happen. I just want you guys to remember that. Okay, but does promise that he will be with you through it all. God will give you the strength to endure any challenge in life. It may not feel like it, guys, but he does. It's there. It's there. And I mentioned, Scripture says, hold on to you with my righteous right hand. This is where help is rooted from and sustained. He has you. He's got your back. Allow God's everlasting presence to be an overcoming of fear. So, just want to encourage, and I know it's easy for me to say in little old South Carolina, here in the States, because we're not going to get this hurricane, but I just want you guys to be encouraged in that live in the Caribbean. He's with you, and even if this system huff and puffs and blows your house down, he's going to be with you. He's going to get you through it. Just lean on him. Let's pray. Let's all pray for our folks down here in the Caribbean. Prayer is powerful. So I haven't shared this with you guys, but we actually, me and my family have a sponsor child here in Haiti. Her name is May. She lives in Haiti. It dawned on me a few days ago, like this system could really bring impacts to her and her family. And, it kind of hit home a little bit more. Thinking of y'all, I'm not trying to overhype anything, guys. I'm just very concerned. And listen, at the end of the day, if this thing doesn't even become a Category 2 hurricane, doesn't do a whole lot, and, when all the dust settles and it's like this thing was not that big of a deal, I'm not going to have any regrets with the way I handle things with this, because I just want people to understand how serious this could be. And it's a scary setup that can happen over the next several days. So appreciate y'all. God bless y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day, and we'll do it again tonight. God bless.